between Denmark and India?
Okay, so the main differences are that India is a multicultural and multi-religious society, right? So, and it was ruled by Britishers as well, so it was colonized by them. So the progress is different, because when Britishers colonize you, they take away all your wealth. And because of that, we are still a developing country, because at time of colonization, we were one of the richest, but now we are considered to be a poor country, and we are still developing. Um, and that is one of the main difference. We have a lot of people. We are 1.3 billion, so it's very populated country, and because of that, we do face a lot of issues. Um, Denmark being it's a single religion. Christianity was one of its religion at one point of time. Now people, I'm not sure what their religious status is, but we don't see a lot of religious people in Denmark. But in India, religion is still one of the major political thing. So there is politics that's based on religion, and it pays a lot, in our daily lives, religion pays a big impact. So our decisions, our daily life is based around our culture, our religion. Also, we are a society where family is very important to us. I still live with my parents. I live here, but when I go back to India, I go to my parents. And when you work near your parents, you usually don't move out. You always live with your parents. So that's another big difference. It's a family-based society. And the reason for that is we don't have help from government. Like over here, you get education sponsored by government. You get some money to study. When you're old, government helps you if you don't have a house, or gives you your medical expenses, or pays for your medical bill. But in India, we don't have that. So it's a family-based society. So family take care of you. So now when my parents are old, I need to take care of them. So that's part of our upbringings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, this is one of our questions. What impact do you think that it has had that India used to be a British colony?
Yeah. So it's a very controversial question. So India was called Crown of British Empire when it was ruled by Britishers. It was called Crown because literally we gave them the diamond that they have in their crown, the Kohinoor diamond. It was called Diamond of Hope. Also because India was one of the richest at that point of time. If you look back at the statistic released by East India Company, India had more than 30% of world's GDP at the point they established their company in India. And by the time they left, it was less than 5%. So Britishers basically ruled India to sponsor their industrialization, to get all the money. So India was very good in textile, very good with spices. India was till mid 1800s, India was the only country that had diamonds, that could mine diamond. So all the wealth was taken away from India. Britishers did brought railways, roadways, education, and the medical things to India. So all their expertise, but they brought it for their own reason. And the reason was because they colonized India. They wanted to extract everything to basically get the money out of the country and give it to their own empire, because everybody does that. When you're ruling a place, when you're colonizing a place, you want to get the money out of it to benefit your own country. And that's what they did. Their wars were sponsored by us. We had our soldiers that fought for them. We had, our food was used for the World War IIs and for their industrialization. So it was a big impact. They did brought all the modernization to India, but because India was so rich, it would have eventually been there. We would have bought it. But yeah, that's history.
Is there a lot of corruption in India?
Can you say something?
Yes, means, yeah, in government offices you can say there's a corruptions over there, but yes, it's kind of part of system. So yeah.
Yeah. So there is corruption in day-to-day life in India. But current government is trying to take it away. They have created a couple of policies. So recently there was a policy called demonetization in India. What they did was they took all the currencies
Notes. Yeah.
out of the system. So all the people who would have stashed up money somewhere, because India, again, 1.3 billion people, you need to print a lot of money. So when there's corruption, what they do is they stack up a lot of money in the basement somewhere so that they can use it later. So there'll be deals, they'll get millions of money in cash so that it cannot be traced electronically, and then they'll stash it up somewhere. So the current government bought something called demonetization. They made all the older big currency notes illegal. Like after a couple of months, they said that you cannot use it. So everybody had to give their money and exchange it for the newer version of the currency. And that got a lot of black money out in open. Or people had to destroy their money, so that increased the value of our currency. So current government is bringing a lot of policies which should take the corruption away. But yes, there is corruption. People accept that as their daily life, but it's changing. Yeah.
Okay. Does it have a big effect on India that you have so many people compared to Denmark? Also compared to how big it is?
Yes, because we are 1.3 billion people.
Yeah, it helps in the development of the country as well. If you have big people, you have more resources to develop something. So yeah, it's creating a good impact if you have population. But yeah, sometimes it's a bad impact as well, because we have limited resources to manage all the huge population. So yeah, if you live in India, you feel the difference because it's a huge population, and buses are crowded, trains are pretty crowded. So yeah, you feel the difference. But yeah, it's good as well in terms of developing. It means we have a IT superpower in the world. So.
And also because we are, 1.3 billion people, I'm saying that number again and again, but we are a big country.
Yeah.
So whenever you have to do something, you have to consider that you're doing it for 1.3 billion people. So any law that changes, any policy that you bring, infrastructure, you have to make railways, roadways, any medical facility has to be built for all these people. So there's a lot of planning, because all the tasks they need to do is monumental. They need to put in a lot of effort. So any task is huge. And also we are 1.3, but we have different regions. So we have mountains, we have glaciers, we have coastal regions. So everything, we face a lot of natural calamities as well: earthquake, hurricanes, like flood.
Yeah.
So to manage that also need a lot of resources. So that's one of the drawback of 1.3 billion people. But if you turn it around, that's positive for us too, because now we are a country of service providers. We have all the biggest IT companies. We can provide services to everyone in the world, and that's what we are doing, and that's how we are progressing, because we are 1.3 billion people.
Is India split up in some regions that are more developed than other regions?
Yes, it is. So we call them metro cities. So these are the hubs of India. So it's Delhi, that's the capital. Then we have Mumbai, that's called financial capital, and also it's the heart of Bollywood. That's the Indian
Film industry,
movies and music industry. Then we have Bangalore, that's the
IT hub.
Then we have Hyderabad. We have some region like Gujarat is more developed because the policies of the minister that worked over there was very good. So some region are more developed than another, but it's everywhere. Even if you look at Denmark, Aarhus, Copenhagen, Aalborg, all these areas are more developed than the other areas. That's how it is.
Do you think it makes a big difference that India is a much more cultural country than Denmark?
Yes, it does, because culture is basically a way of living. Yeah, our way of living is heavily influenced by religion. So all our decisions, all our policies, governmental policies, our day-to-day life is ruled by our culture. So it does make a lot of difference, because we are more emotional than being rational. or thinking about things in more practical way. But again, education does helps you overcome all these things, and I guess it's becoming better. But it does have a lot of negative and positive impact both. Yeah.
Do you think it? What kind of difference do you think it makes for countries such as India that they develop later in the history of the world, so that developed countries such as Denmark and England can help them develop?
Yeah. I didn't get the question.
The India, they are developing. They are still developing.
Yeah.
And they can get help from developed countries
Yes.
such as Denmark and
Yeah.
England.
Yeah.
But it might also be an issue because maybe developed countries don't want to help India because they'll end up being too much of competition.
Again, if you look at this scenario now, people do talk about immigration, and that a lot of people are coming over, taking their jobs away. So that's one of the things that people start resenting a developing country. And developing country like India and China, where they have a lot of people, they do migrate because there is a lot of brain drain. Like a lot of people from India go to USA, to UK. Now they're coming to Denmark, to Australia, and work for them. But the developed countries are trying to, that's what we think as a nation like India and China. They think that the developed countries are trying to slow the development of the developing countries by introducing carbon tax. It's good for the environment, but what they don't get is that all the pollution that has happened till now has been because of the progress that they have made, the industrial revolution, like USA and England, and Europe. They all were developing, they polluted the environment. Now the environment is polluted. But now there is a carbon tax. So if you want to progress, you have to pay a carbon tax. You have to work towards planting more trees. It's good for environment, but it stops us from developing. And they don't think about like the developed countries should be taxed higher, but they want everything to be equal right now because they have already been developed. So that's kind of things that we talk about in a developing country. That developed countries are now developed, have better technologies, are advanced. So they are okay with using wind power, solar power, because they are more advanced than us, and we are still relying on coal and the non-renewable energy sources, which creates more pollution. But these are kind of policies that actually impact us. So developed countries do try and get things slowed down for developing countries, but it's a matter of time. Soon, what I think is that world will be overtaken by all the, everything will be same after some point of time, because immigrants, we do need more advanced technologies. So immigrants from all over the world will be traveling into the country, into different countries. So at one point of time in future, all race will be same. It will be one race. That's what I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are, I don't know how to say this in English. More levevilkår.
The standards for living.
Yeah. So it's improving. It's not good because we have a lot of poor people, and 1.3 billion people means no jobs.
No jobs.
Like lesser jobs, more poverty, illiterate people. So standard of living depends on what you are, what your status is. So if you are poor, you can survive because India is cheap for surviving. But if you want to have a good life, it's actually expensive because I'm not sure. Like a lot of people cannot imagine that when a person from India goes to US for studying or for a trip or for business purpose or for working there, they shop in US because it's cheaper to get things in US than to get it in India. But standard of living is low because we have a lot of poor people in India.
Okay.
Må jeg lige spørge om noget? Are there also a few very rich people or not so many rich people?
There are a couple of rich people in
really
the world's
rich,
top 10.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's so the difference between super rich and super poor is huge.
Yeah.
But as service industry is growing in India, like I was from Microsoft, we provided services. A lot of industries are around services in India. So the salaried people, their standard of living is increasing.
Yeah.
But then government is trying to work on the poor people who are illiterate, who don't have anything to do, who are scavenging for their daily food they need. So those are the people that government is trying to help. Again, 1.3 billion people, it's huge task and it's not easy. So people do die of hunger, of heat, of cold, because we are so many people.
But in Denmark, the poor people get money from the government.
Yeah.
Nothing like that in India.
No.
No, there's no monthly payment.
Yeah.
There are ration shops, that's what we call them, like shops from government where they provide food and basic amenities for poor people. But again,
that is not free, but subsidized by the government.
yeah, so it's like 99% of value is paid by government. So it's very cheap, so that you can live, you can actually survive.
Yeah.
But the condition of living for poor people, it's not great.
No.
Well, that was pretty much all the questions I had.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add yourself?
No. Yeah, there was another question that you sent was why India is so populated, or what's the factor that India is so populated. What people forget is that India and China there's a geographical factor that India and China is populated. It's populated because it was one of the most fertile land of that point of time. So it was Nile back in Egypt, and then in India, and in China. India and China, they were multi-river system. So we have a couple of big rivers in India and also in China that helps the land to be fertile. So one of the biggest civilization, Indus Valley civilization, started in India, because and it started because of the fact that the land was so fertile, and that's why all the settlers were coming into this geography, trying to settle in, because at that point of time you can only grow food and eat, and that's how you survive. There was no technology and all these kind of things. So that's why this area is so populated. Also, the factor illiteracy, bad government policies in starting, bad practices of sex, no protection, less education. All these things they pay into the rise of all the people, all the population. But there's a geographical factor as well.
Do most Indians think that? Do most Indians don't hate Britain or don't like India?
No, we have forgotten. It's not like we hate them, but sometimes we tend to forget, because history is written by victors. So if you look at the history of our history, we would have colonization chapter in our history where they tell us about all the atrocities and everything that has happened in India. But if you look at the history of the British or the empire, or the history that they teach right now, they skip that step. They don't want to tell their children on what they did to become what they are right now. So that's what irks some of the people, that they don't want to take up the responsibility that they were colonizing. And now if you would have read the news, there was something called Brexit, and people were complaining about people taking their jobs away. They also have to understand that we never wanted to be there. They are the one who colonized India, and colonization means they wanted to impart their way of living into India. So that's colonization, because they were not invading India, they were colonizing India. So they wanted India to be one of their empire. So that's how we knew that there's a country called Great Britain that says that they are great. So we should go there and find a better way of living. And now they're complaining about it. They cannot complain the things that they created. So that's what aches right now, because now there's racism in US, in Britain. There's a racism against brown people. They say they're taking our jobs away, and in hate is for that. But they are the one who started it. Yeah.
But how do you feel as an Indian, as what do you call it, Indian, living here in Denmark and working here in Denmark? Do you feel some kind of racism or something?
No, because we have heard that some of the farther back areas are a bit racist, but we have never seen it myself.
No.
Like I've mostly traveled to Copenhagen and Aarhus. All the people are very educated. They know English. They do, I guess they're used to international people.
Yeah.
So it's in Aarhus, it's very open. It's equally open in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
All the immigrants from the warhead areas, from the Muslim areas, are like, it's not doing justice because there are bad elements that comes along. But then people sometimes tend to forget that there's a difference between a legal immigrant who comes here because he has education, a technical education that's needed in the country for the development, than the people who are trying to take asylum. So they are the people that needs integration. We kind of are here because we know how the society is. We wanted to live here. We are educated enough, and we are helping the society. I have a working visa. I pay equal taxes than everyone, but I don't get anything out of system. I don't complain about it because that's a choice that I made to be here, to pay that much taxes, to have a good life here. But then the hate, people don't understand this sometimes. They just start hating a race, a color. They should hate what action a person is doing instead of a race and a color. Yeah.
The weather in India compared to Denmark?
Yeah.
It's means India, you can have all kind of weather. Means we have cold, we have in rainy also, in humidity as well. So yeah, in north part of India it's pretty cold.
Yeah.
Like we do have means 0 degrees Celsius as well in north part of India, and in south still. At the same time in south we have humidity.
Yeah.
So it's we face all kind of weather over there.
Yeah.
Because India is so big, we have coastal region, we have glaciers, we have desert,
Yeah.
we have everything. There's a point in India where it rains the highest amount in the world. So if you go to north, it's mountain covered with snows. If you go down south, there's coastal region full of humidity and everything. So weather varies. And in north, we see all the seasons. So there's summer, spring, fall, winter, rain. We see everything. So down in south, it's more of a stable weather. The temperature is between mid-20s to start of 30s. In north, it changes. It goes up to 48 degrees Celsius and down to 0.
Yeah.
And then farther north, it goes up to minus 25. So our soldiers battle at minus 25
Yeah.
as well.
And in Denmark it's totally stable. Raining all the time.
Yeah, it changes every day.
Yeah.
In India, it changes as per the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it harder for Indians to become successful in their careers than in other countries?
Yes and no, because it's easier if you get the education, like if you have that kind of an advantage, because if you're poor, it becomes a bit harder for you to become successful, because government education system for primary education is not very strong, and they don't provide a lot of help. But once you have received that advantage, that you get education, you get higher education, it becomes easier for you to succeed, because there are so many things you can do. Again, if you see, there's a lot of brain drain from India. All the major CEOs are from India right now. You look at Microsoft, you look at Google, you look at Coca-Cola and Amazon. Amazon also, right?
No, Oracle.
Oracle.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of Indian people succeeding. But because, again, 1.3 billion people, so even if 10% of us are succeeding, that's a lot of people succeeding.
But how many years do you go to school? Like we have 9 years normally in the elementary school where we have to go and then you choose after that. Do you have some kind of that in India?
Yeah, we have 12 years of education.
Yeah.
Then we have bachelor's degree. So what I did was I had 12 years of education. After that, a bachelor degree of 4 years.
Yeah.
And after that, you do a master's of 2 years, or if you want to continue, PhD. And I have a technical education. I'm a BTech and engineer with 4 years of higher education.
And
so it's 12 plus 4, 16 years of education.
And the last years costs money?
A lot of money.
Yeah.
Yes. Even because all these years cost money. Even the 12 year of education, it's not provided by government. There are schools which are sponsored by government, but the education level is not good.
Okay.
So anyone who has some money, who earns some money, will put their children into a private institution starting from the very first day, because that's how you prepare your child to succeed.
And does the poor people go to school too?
Yes.
Yes.
So right now, again, government is doing a lot of initiatives to put people into school, to improve the condition of the current schools. But again, it's progressing.
Yeah.
So governments provide free education, but it's not up to the mark, or it's up to quality level.
Okay.
So that's why people prefer to send his children to some private school so that they'll get better education and they'll succeed in the future. So.
Of course.
But we do have a government institution for higher studies, like IITs. It's called Indian Institute of Technologies, for 4 years of technical education, for BTech, Bachelor in Technology, and for Masters in MBA. So it's called IIM. It's one of the, these are the places, it's one of the hardest to get into. So people who don't get into IITs, they crack MITs. Because that's their aim. It's comparatively cheaper and it's world-class technology.
Yeah.
And all these people, they are the technological leaders of the world right now. All the people who crack these institutions. When they cannot crack it, then they look for an option outside India in MIT. So it's just their second option.
Yeah.
Yeah. So higher education is doing okay, but it's basic primary education that government is trying to work on.
Yeah. Okay.
Are Indians' relationships with their families different from Danish family?
Right. Not just Danish family, you can say from Western society, because as you progress, you tend to become more practical. So, like parents, I guess, over here will ask their child to start working, start earning their things. Back in India, we don't have that leverage. We cannot send a child out there in the world and ask him to earn things, because government does not provide them anything. And because we are 1.3 billion people, there are a lot of menial jobs that there are people to do. So if you have to serve at a mall or at a retail shop, there'll be a person for that job. So there's a person doing that job, and it's considered to be a bit lowly job in India. So a parent won't send their kid to a McD to earn their living, because then because if they are rich or if they are earning good money, they would not do that, because that will be considered bad.
They will invest more on the child education and then try something else rather than just moving out and look around.
Yeah. So, but we always live with our parents, and that's what we reciprocate. So when our parents become old, we have to take care of them. We don't just go out and say, okay, bye-bye, you are old, we are not taking care of you, we'll visit you once a year. That's not what happens. Because even me, I'm right now here because I have a younger brother at home who lives with the parents. So I can depend on my brother to be with my parents, take care of them. Because otherwise there's no way we can take care of them. My parents are privately insured, medical, so all the medical expenses are paid by private companies. Government does not do that. But that's how it is in India. So that's where the family comes into picture, because you care for each other.
And how many years do you keep on working? Like in Denmark now, we have to keep on working until 65, 68, 70 years.
Because there's no pension system in India as such.
So
there is a PF account where your pension goes to, but there's no pension from government. So you can work as long as you want to, or as little as you want to.
Yeah.
So there's no fixed retirement age. No. For government employee it is. So the people who work with government have 62 years, 62 years of, they have to work till 60, and then they can retire. And then government pays them pension and everything. But if you're not a government employee, it becomes harder. Then you have to sponsor yourself.
So it's a good
to save and secure your future.
Yeah.
And we are the future. For our parents, we are the future. So they invest on us more than investing on anything else.
So that's also why they don't want you to go work at McDonald's. They want to get you something.
Exactly. So that's why they want to invest in us, to get us higher education, to make sure that we succeed in life, so that we can take care of ourselves and also them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they have that as a motive. They want us to succeed. But then we have that gratitude towards our parent, that yes, we are here because of you, and we have to, you know, take care of you.
Yeah.
Well, is it harder to financially support one's family in India than other places in the world?
It's no, we don't consider it to be hard.
Yeah.
It's part of our
It's
expenses.
not part of our culture that we have to support, so it's our mind.
Yeah, so
so it's
we
not-
never think about
yeah.
it as hard
Yeah.
or easier. They are a family, so
Yeah.
like for your mother, you are a family, so she will take care of you at any expense. Your parents will take care of you at any expense, and it's similar for us. We don't look at it in terms of hard or easier. Whatever it is, it's theirs.
It's us, yeah.
So whatever we earn, it's there. Whatever they earn, it's ours. And just imagine, even if I buy a house, I never call it's my house. It's my parents' house.
Yeah.
It will always be my parent house until they're gone and it's just me. Until that point of time, it will be my parents' house. So like I went back to India, it's my parents' house. Yeah.
Yeah. Do people get more? How many children do people usually get in India? A lot of children, or not so many?
Now the trend is changing.
Yeah, not now.
Now it means it's just on 1 or 2 maximum, because still the education is pretty costly over there.
Yeah.
So people now don't prefer to have more children because government is not supporting us. So
No.
so it's good to have
Yeah.
1 or 2.
Earlier it was like
Yeah.
there was no entertainment and there was no protection, there was no knowledge from government, or people were not educated. And Britishers never implemented family planning in India because they needed cheap labor.
Yeah.
So more the people, more labor they
Yeah.
can get. So they never educated India in that sense.
No.
So that's why population rose. And then there's a religious factor as well. So we have different religion where they want more children.
Yeah.
And even in our religion, Hinduism, 2 children were like 5, 6 were the norms. But if you look back since past couple of decades, the trend is changing. People will only have 1 or 2 kids, not more than that. Even if they are rich, they can afford it. 1 or 2 kids is the norm. And it's because government implemented family planning, they educated the people, they told them about using protections. So all this thing has improved this.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It was very nice you had, and very interesting actually.
Very nice.
Yeah, because we live there, we know our history.
Yeah.
So that's why we do read about it. Even when we were kids, we never knew about it. But when you start reading, start listening to people who speak, then you come to know about all of this thing that has happened, because it's history, and yeah.
I used to live in just for a short while in Germany.
Yeah.
They also where I lived took care of their family. They had houses in levels, and they lived all in
They
the
lived
same
all
house.
together.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
But we had something called joint family as well. So like your grandparents, your parents' siblings, so your cousins, they all used to live together in one big house.
Yeah.
But that trend is going away. Now it's about nuclear families. So mostly you will have a grandparent. One of the grandparent will be living with one of the kids.
Yeah.
Mostly it's an elder kid, or it depends on where it is more convenient to live for the parent. Or usually they shift around, like 6 months they'll be here, 6 months they'll go to the next kid and say, okay, now we are here. So it depends on how they live.
Yeah.
But usually now it's a nuclear family, one grandparent, one parent and their kids. So only 2 generations together. 3 generations together.
Yeah. And
Again,
I guess you
it's
have a lot of respect for elder people, more than we have in Denmark.
Yes.
Yeah, you can say that. But again, today's generation, the kid that are there today, they look at, because YouTube, media, Facebook, everything is so open, so they look at the Western society and they see, okay, kids are doing this. Kids at 12 years of age has an iPhone. I have a younger sister, a cousin sister, she's always on Insta. But what they don't see is that even in Western society, kids go by the rules. They see all the freedoms, but they don't see the upbringing, because our parents are used to pampering the kids. So they provide them everything.
Yeah.
cars, mobile phones. They don't have to earn for anything. All they have to do is study, and that's what we parents expect.
Crib.
Yeah, and crib. But they don't see all the things, all the rules and all the way the people live lives here. They just see the good side, the media side of it.
Yeah.
So in that terms, the society is still growing in India. So sooner we'll reach this stage, but again, we are a developing country. So
Do you have, we have in Denmark a lot of, there's a lot of talk about young people, how much they drink. Do you have that in India too? Not just because I know you two, but anyway.
So drinking is a taboo in India. So now it's becoming more of a social thing. Okay. So if I look back 10 years when I was in my college, I was 19. I started drinking when I was 20.
Okay,
so
that's
that was
late.
Yeah, so that was second year of my education, and even then I used to not drink in front of my parents. So they will never know. I'll go to my friend's house, we'll party, and then we'll just stay there. So they'll never know that we are drinking, because it's considered to be taboo. You don't drink in front of your elders out of respect.
Okay.
So now I've started having drinks with my father, but I was 25 when I had my first drink with my father. And some people don't even do that. They still don't have drinks with their father. Out of respect, and because drinking is a taboo.
But I guess that would change too.
Eventually, yeah, it will. But now in India, because as the standard of living is increasing, so people are mostly into the good drinks, scotches, and 12 years old, 18 years old, and good beers. So that's where the trend is going. And it's considered bad because earlier the society was a labor society. There were a lot of labor people used to work very hard, and end of the day they needed a drink to just just knock off and sleep. So that was where the taboo came from, because if you're drinking that much, you become addict, and then you become a nuisance in the society. So alcohol was always related to alcoholism in India. So if you're drinking alcohol, you are an alcoholic.
Okay.
So that's why people don't like to say that they drink in front of their parents. It's a taboo. Still a taboo in India.
Parents also don't like to their children to have a drink, because they think that the future is going in a wrong direction because they started drinking.
So that's why you come to Denmark.
Just for beers.
There's also another difference that Saurabh told me that about when you are getting married. If you are not fast enough to find a wife, then your parents will set you up.
Parents will start searching for
you. I would have never thought that.
So arranged marriage is still a thing in India. So parents arrange your marriage, but now in people who are more educated, they don't just say, okay, like my parents, they got married, like my mother's parents decided that, oh, he's a good guy, my father is a good guy. My father's relatives decided, oh, that's a good family, so they made a match, and they met once before getting married. So my parents met once before getting married. Now it's changing. Now people are accepting love marriages. We don't call them marriages, we call them love marriages. Because you choose your own partner at that point of time. Like even for me, my wife, my parents gave me my wife's phone number. Because I was in a relationship for a couple of years. We broke up, and I was like, fuck it, I don't want to do it anymore. I just want to, I don't want to be in a committed relationship, so I was hanging around. And then I told my parents, okay, I broke up, find a girl for me. So they started looking for people they knew, and then they gave me a couple of numbers. They gave me the number of my wife, and then they were like, do you want to talk? So I messaged my wife, and then we started talking. We talked. She was in Sydney, I was in India. We chatted, we Skyped, then she came to India, we met, we dated for a while. And then by end of 6 months, we were like, but it was only 6 months. So by end of 6 months, we told our parents, yes, we are compatible enough, we want to get married. But when these kind of things happen, you know that the end result is either marriage, or you're like, okay, bye, let's look for someone else. But again, this trend is again changing. People are
Yeah.
getting more and more involved into love marriage.
But that was also okay because they gave you some numbers and it was up to you.
Yeah,
to,
It's a modern version of
Yeah.
arranged marriage,
Yeah.
but soon this will go away as well. And also in India, the marriage is not between two person. It's a marriage of families.
Yeah.
Two families, yeah.
Because it's a family driven society. So they also have to see that families will gel together. Like if the girl is coming into our house, because again parents live with us,
Yeah.
so she should be compatible with not just me, my family
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like instability, divorces, living separately, all these things. Again, that is a taboo in India. So
Yeah.
that's a big difference. Yeah.
So could it be that when you get older, you live with both your parents, both the wife's parents and your parents?
Yes. So again, we are the one that has to help our parents.
Yeah.
Like right now, we all live away from our parents.
Yeah.
But if they need it, yes, they can. Earlier, it was again considered to be a taboo. So a
Yeah.
girl's parent would never live with girl and the guy, because it was considered to be a taboo. It was a religious thing.
Yeah.
But now it's like, because it's your parent, you love them equally.
Yeah.
You start loving them
Yeah.
equally, and you have to take. You are equally responsible for them. So you are responsible for them as well.
It's because like Saurabh, your wife Tanu,
Yeah.
they have only one daughter,
Yeah,
so she has to
single-
take
single
care of
child.
them.
She is
Yeah.
a single child.
Yeah, so
We have to take care of their her parents and as well as
Yeah.
my parents. Yes.
Yeah.
We have to take care of.
it's nice. But it's not like you don't marry family like they do in some religions. They marry their cousin or something. It's not like that. It's a family, as you say. They find another family.
I think in Muslims they can marry their
Yeah.
cousins, but
Yeah.
not in our.
So our religion is called Hindu.
Yeah.
We are Hindu, so it's
Yeah.
Hinduism. In our, it's strictly against to marry your own bloodline. So you
Okay.
cannot marry your own bloodline.
Okay.
So because that's why we sometimes say that our society was so advanced, that even at that point of time we had an idea that there is something called bloodline, and if you marry in your bloodline, that's not advised because it will create genetical impurities.
Yeah.
So we all are divided into bloodlines. So we don't even if it's we don't marry in our own bloodlines. Even if we are not related, we don't even marry in our bloodlines.
No.
So they have divided the bloodlines because what they did was in ancient times they started creating bloodlines, like they are your forefathers, and then that's a genetical descendant you are from, like you are descended genetically from that bloodline. So you cannot marry in the bloodline either, because
No.
I guess they knew about genetical impurities that will happen if you marry in your own
Yeah.
bloodline.
Yeah.
And so no, we don't do that. We
No.
don't marry our first
Yeah.
cousin, second cousin. No, we don't.
Anything.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
It was
it's
great.
Quite interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. But I'm not